Hello and welcome to the Spazzin Out Sports Show. I'm your host, Chaz Carmero. This is episode 4 of the Spazzin Out Sports Show. In this episode, we will be talking about and recapping Major 2 qualifiers week 1. Basically going over, what happened over the last week when it comes to qualifiers, and then also predicting week 2 of qualifiers for Major 2. And a new segment we will be having, especially since it is March Madness for college basketball, we will be having a college basketball segment as well. So I'll be talking about that in a little bit. But right now, let's go into the recap for the first week of qualifiers for Major 2. The first game we had London and New York. London, came in all guns a-blazing, of course, as usual. They were, playing with Paul X. They were without Gizmo as he was away. He went back home to the UK, and they played well. Paul X played great as a sub, and they ended up beating New York 3-1 pretty handily. And then you had Boston and Seattle. Seattle struggling again. Mac is actually showing that he could be a great player. However, accuracy and the other two, Sid and Pred, were struggling, especially in those respawn game modes, which caused them to lose to Boston and Capsule and Nero, who played great during that match, 3-1. And then we had probably, a very surprising Florida, beating the Gorillas 3-0, clean sweep. It was an easy sweep. Awakening had his way. So did Cedar Skies, Dave Patty. All of them played great as a team. Specifically, Vivid, played great as well. As usual, playing great in hardpoint and control as well. Then we went into Saturday. We had LAG going up against Paris Legion. Not too much to say about that. It was a quick and easy 3-0 by by the Gorillas, 3-0. And then another quick and easy number 3 versus number 4 in the world. Number 3 being London, number 4 being LAT. Quick 3-0 by London over LAT, as Kenny and Octane didn't really play great, which is why they were struggling, especially in that first hard point and that S&D. So, maybe if they could find their way as they have been over the past, couple of weeks, they could, play at a higher level than they, as they usually do. Then you had Minnesota and Toronto. Toronto again, overpowering Minnesota in the battle for the North. Toronto is playing great. Cammy's playing great. Cammy's getting into his own. Of course, after being out for a couple of weeks, he's playing great. He's playing as he never left. He's getting used to playing with his team now, which is great for him and great for Toronto. Minnesota is, struggling in those hardpoint control and those respawn game modes as usual. Attach is playing great. Priesta is playing a little bit better as usual. Standy's playing great. Attach. Major Maniac, I already said Attach. Major Maniac, that is. Major Maniac and Priesta might be the ones on the chopping block right now, as Attach and Eli, that being Standy, are playing great. COD right now, but Priesta, he's been coming into his own. Major Maniac is a solid player, especially when it comes to S&D, so I don't see a roster change, but it could be a possibility. And then we had, probably the most surprising game, Seattle and Atlanta. Seattle beating Atlanta 3-2, beating the number 1 team. I do believe this is a fluke by Atlanta. I don't necessarily think that Seattle is gonna really do anything with this. The last time they beat a great team, they ended up losing 3 straight. So I don't really expect too much from the squad. They're playing great, because they could have, a great game, against Atlanta, and then all of a sudden lose to Boston, 3-1. So I don't know what to expect from this team. Seattle is looking better than they have, the past couple of seasons, obviously, but I believe that they're still a middle of the pack team right now, probably around that 7th, 8th margin. And then we go into Sunday. We have a 3-2 victory for Minnesota over Paris. Paris is playing, Temp specifically is playing great. Jimbo, Gravity. Jimbo might not be, the answer. Gravity obviously is. I do believe that Gravity and Temp should stay on the team. As far as the other two go, as far as the other two are concerned, I don't think they should be on the team. I think they should be subbed out already. I'm not saying that they don't deserve it. They do deserve it. but this team specifically won't work out. Temp is, kind of that vocal leader that kind of needs that gravity, that backbone in order to rely on. So I don't believe that, Paris is, gonna keep this team. They're probably gonna make a couple of moves, especially going into this next week. Florida, quick 3-0 over New York. Enough said about that. And then Texas, reverse sweep against LAT. LAT is 0-2 right now, by the way. Obviously they played London, number 3, and Texas, number 2 in the world. So, that they got a tough schedule. But, Optic looked great as usual, especially the last 3 maps, in that match. But yeah, overall, as far as my, power rankings go, it's pretty simple. I have Atlanta, and then I have Optic, obviously, then London, then LAT, and then Toronto. And then this is where it gets a little weird. I do have Boston, but now I have Florida. I have Florida at number 7. I have LAG at number 8. I have Seattle Surge at number 9. Minnesota at number 10. Paris at 11, and New York at 12. I do believe that a lot of the bottom tier teams, especially when it comes to Minnesota, they can make one move and be a great team, top 6, be in that top half, I do believe. So, we'll see. I do believe that, they're a strong team, great team, and we'll see this next week how they fare against Boston and how they fare against LAT. Speaking of that, we're going to go into week 2, my week 2 predictions for this qualifying for Major 2. First off, we have London and Paris. I do believe it's going to go easy. 3-0 by London. They're going to have Gizmo back most likely, so I do believe that they're going to play at a very high level, as is Gizmo never left. Quick 3-0 by London. Seattle and Optic, I do believe it's going to be a quick 3-0 by Texas. Seattle is still struggling, even though they won, against Atlanta, which was very impressive. Don't get me wrong, they needed that win. I don't believe that they're going to carry it on versus Texas. Minnesota and Boston, that's going to be an interesting one. I do believe that Boston's going to get the upper hand here. I do believe that Capsule and Nero, I keep on saying their names over and over. Methods and TJ are great, but it's going to be Capsule and Nero to be able to pull that pretty much almost every victory. For Boston, I do believe it's going to go 3-2. However, as Minnesota's great at S&D, as we all know. Then we go to Saturday. We have Atlanta and London. That's going to be number 1 versus number 3 in the world. That's going to be a great game, to start off our Saturday. I do believe it's going to go in favor of Atlanta, though, 3-1. I do believe Cell, is going to be a little bit too much, especially with, especially if Sim plays to the best of his abilities, which I do believe he will, as he is trying, coming into his own. Paris and New York, probably, it's probably the 2 worst teams in the league. It should be an interesting game because that might be a game where both teams could kind of gauge where they're at right now. Especially whoever the loser of it of that is. I do believe Paris is going to get the upper hand 3-1. Might be a 3-2. Might go to a map 5. I do believe that Temp is going to lead them to victory. As he pretty much has. With every victory that Paris has had. Florida and Texas, I do believe that's going to go to a map 5. I do believe it's going to go to map 5 quite simply because Florida, they're 2-0 right now. They're coming off of great wins against LAG, and also a great win against New York. Granted, New York obviously being the worst team in the league right now, but overall, they're looking very, very good. Especially Dave Patty coming into his own as a rookie. It's really great to see. Especially if you're a Mutineer supporter. I do believe Texas is going to win this though, 3-2. And then obviously we have Boston and Toronto. I do believe Toronto is going to get the victory here, 3-1. I think Methods is going to try to play at a high level, but I do believe that Cammy, Insight, Bance, Kleenex are going to be too much for Boston to handle. So I think it's going to go 3-1. And then obviously we go to Sunday, the last 3 games of the week. Seattle and LAG. I think LAG is going to win this one 3-2. I think Hook and Asim are going to come into their own after an embarrassing loss to Florida. I do believe that they definitely need it as they will be going in 1-1 on the year. And then Minnesota LAT is the second game that day on Sunday. LAT, I do believe they're going to get that victory because they need it. Quite simply, I do believe it's going to be 3-1. I think Minnesota's going to win that first S&D, and then every other map is going to be a landslide, most likely, considering Minnesota's struggles and respawn modes. And then we have Atlanta and Toronto, quite possibly, the rematch. Well, this is the rematch of last year's champs. Should be a great match. I think it's going to go to a map 5. I'm pretty sure a lot of people predicted that anyway. I do believe Atlanta's going to win 3-1 though. I think 3-2 though. Atlanta's going to get the upper hand. Celium, again, is going to be the X factor there, especially, the real X factor is going to be if Sim plays to the best of his abilities, as the former MVP of the league. If he plays like, the MVP again, then I consider it Atlanta impossible to beat. So I do believe it's going to be 3-2 to Toronto. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the week 1 recap and week 2 predictions. Up next, we're going to go into college basketball and March Madness and my predictions for that. Let's cue the March Madness music. We're probably not going to have music. But anyway, so this is going to be our segment, our new segment now for March Madness. I'm a big fan of college basketball, especially when it comes to the NCAA tournament. So I'm going to be giving, a couple of predictions here and there. We're not going to go over the whole bracket. That's going to be a long segment that none of us want to watch. I don't even want to do it. Yeah, so let's just kind of go over it right now. As far as my dogs go, my underdogs go, I do have, let's see, I have Memphis, I have San Fran, I have Michigan, and I have Creighton. As far as my sleeper picks go, I do believe that all 4 of these teams have a great chance at making it to at least the Elite 8 even, especially when it comes to Michigan, being a Big Ten team coming from a really strong conference. It's going to be great to see, especially the San Frans of the world, the St. Mary's of the world, being in the WCC, playing the Gonzagas. That's going to be really interesting to see those teams, play in the NCAA tournament. So I do believe, those are going to be my sleepers. As far as my, my final 4 go, it's going to be, I do believe it's going to be all the 2 seeds. It's probably not a great take. I have Duke, Kentucky, Villanova, and Auburn. I do believe Kentucky is going to get the upper hand, I do believe Duke is going to get the upper hand of Kentucky, and I do believe Villanova is going to get the upper hand of Auburn. And then Duke is going to be the national champion, getting Coach K final, hurrah, national championship, as it is his last year at Duke, his last year of coaching, that is. So that's just, me, that's just what I think. As far as the team to watch, I think is going to be North Carolina this year, especially being a blue blood school. It's kind of normal, it's probably not a hot take, but being that they're the 8th seed, that's a pretty high seed for North Carolina. So I do believe they're gonna, edge it out. I do believe they're gonna get some really cool, nice victories, especially in the earlier rounds, and maybe surprise some people. You never know. But yeah, I do believe that North Carolina is gonna be a team to watch. And then as far as one of those surprising teams, I'm going for Longwood. I'm going for the Cinderella story. It's going to be their first time in the NCAA tournament. The first matchup that they have is really tough, but if they get that win, who knows? That they could be the the new Loyola Chicago for all we know. And I do want to see that this year. I do hope we have a Cinderella, and I do believe that they would be it if anybody. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this short segment when it comes to March Madness and the NCAA tournament. I don't want to make all my picks, right now, because it'll probably be very boring to watch and it'll be very long. So yeah, but that's, a couple of my predictions, couple of my projections at what may or may not happen. My national champions, my final 4, my sleepers, my team to watch out for. There's going to be a lot of talent, in this NCAA tournament. A lot of teams that might surprise us, I do believe. I don't think it's as clear cut as, the past tournaments have been. So, yeah, I do believe that this is going to be, definitely a tournament to watch out for, especially considering that it's 68 teams of, that have talented rosters that, any of them could, surprise us. So I do believe it's going to be interesting this year. And yeah, I just can't wait to watch it, honestly, as a college basketball fan. So, yeah, again, that's pretty much it for my segment and my take when it comes to March Madness. Look forward to more. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be posting more when it comes to college basketball anyway and other sports. But yeah, thank you for watching. And yeah, this segment, yeah, have a good one. Alrighty, and that'll be it for today's episode. Do hope you enjoy. Also, don't forget to follow and look at some of my stories, especially when it comes to my socials and my articles that I made for the Game House. Especially, this week I just published a interview that I had with FAZE Rain. So be sure to check it out in the description down below as well. Today, it was just normal stuff for the most part, going over last week when it came to the CDL, predicting, this upcoming week. But I just, wanted to add a little bit of, traditional sports in there as I am a college basketball fan, and, this is all sports and esports. So, you got to add those in. But yeah, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I do hope you enjoyed the video. And yeah, have a blessed day.